choosing to sing for Cole Porter actually was Clive Davis's idea. Although I've heard a lot of the songs that he wrote over the years being sung by our absolute greats, the Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Ella Fitzgerald, Lena Horne, Johnny Mathis. And Clive just felt that it was as much in the genre of what I do automatically when I record recordings. And it wasn't that much of a departure for me, so subsequently we're singing Cole Porter.
It occurred to me that when I saw Perhaps Anything Goes on the stage and you listen to the music of Cole Porter and you see the reawakening of interest in Cole Porter, in Irving Berlin, and the greats of Rodgers and Hammerstein, in looking around music today, who better than Dionne Warwick could reinterpret the music of Cole Porter? And I hit on it, and I suggested it to Dionne, and she welcomed the idea extremely warmly, and that's how the idea got its birth.
Cole Porter, like Gershwin, like Rodgers and Hammerstein, are Broadway babies. They're film babies, and their songs were utilized in those areas. The era that he wrote, the 20s, 30s, 40s, were times of not the greatest times. There was war, there was all kinds of things, but he found a way to approach the avenue of love, which is something we never lose sight on. And he approached it with a tongue-in-cheek manner, which gave us an opportunity not only to understand what he was saying with his use of double entendres with words, but also to smile for a minute. And those were times when we had a need to smile.
It takes a fresh look at Cole Porter. Here we are at the 100th anniversary of his birth. He clearly was a genius. When you listen to those lyrics and you re-examine them, they are so unique, and you just wonder where that gift has gone. Well, after I presented the idea to Dionne, of course, the next step was to get the producer. And you go down the list of producers who perhaps would have the breadth of musical awareness and knowledge and sophistication, and Arif Mardin did stand out.
Arif Mardin is a very special man anyway. He's an incredible musician. Fabulous arranger. You know, he should be ranked, if not, he will be as of today, with me anyway, among the greatest arrangers of that genre.
The whole album was, of course, Clive Davis's baby. He thought about it, he conceived it, and we didn't actually attempt to do a nostalgia album at all. Otherwise, we would have, used Dixieland arrangements, things like that. It's a totally sophisticated Dionne Warwick album. Of course, the job is easy. When you have Dionne Warwick sing, you just probably need just a piano player and a vocalist.
You know, that was the most amazing thing to me, was to sing the different types of songs that he had written. It was like I was singing any song that I had recorded ages ago, written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David.
Dionne and I go all the way back to Don't Make Me Over, our first record together, our first hit together. And Dionne has lasted all this time as one of the premier singers. She's in her prime today, and she'll go on forever.
Night and Day was one of my father's favorite songs, and probably was one of the first Cole Porter songs I learned. And I learned it at a very tender age. And the part that really always fascinated me was the verse. Like the beat, 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 the tom-tom. And it was just so dramatic, and my dad had a very legit voice. So everything was precisely what it was supposed to be, and that's the way I learned to sing it. And to treat Night and Day in two different fashions on the album, I thought was a brilliant idea. First of all, it gave the way that it was originally intended for it to be recorded and or sung. And then we have what is called the jazz version with special guests like Grover Washington and Stanley Jordan. I mean, come on, folks. And a lot of incredible musicians. that are well known in our industry, if not as just recording entities, they go out on the road as well. So I'm in some great company. Whenever skies look gray to me, I concentrate on you. What could be more direct to a person that you have a feeling for? And to say, I concentrate on you when everything else goes bonkers. All I gotta do is kind of focus in, and there it is, and there you are, and it makes everything better again. I've got you under my skin is just like I concentrate on you. You know, he wrote so very, very much to monogamy. You know, people that genuinely cared about each other. And if it was one-sided, how strong that one side felt about the other. It's very difficult not to love his lyrics. Begin to Begin, ironically, is my arrangement. It's the way I felt that it should be treated. I wanted it to feel like Deja Vu. And I think we kind of came very, very close to that accomplishment. We've heard Begin to Begin on several occasions by different people. And I think a contemporary approach was never done. And I think that we may have found the handle.
The key thing that I felt is that it should be danceable. And that was the criterion that was kept, I think, throughout. For most of the songs, not all the songs. But this is a very danceable album. When I say danceable, it was especially auspicious and heartwarming to see that the launching party took place at Cafe Society, and to see these ballroom dances that nobody cast, but just in effect coming off the streets, people from all walks of life gliding to these wonderful melodies and marvelous vocal and instrumental arrangements.
Some like a perfume from Spain. I'm sure that if I took the liner notes, when you speak of the greats, these names are automatically mentioned. Lena Horne. I mean, she's like my mom. And she has always been that way towards me. Quincy Jones I have known for quite a long time. And we all know who he is, what he does, and he wrote some wonderful things about me as well. Frank Sinatra, whom I refer to as my dad, he's always been there for me. He has turned me around a couple of times and, you know, slapped my wrist and set me on my way, the right way again. So to have him say the wonderful things and to couple it with the friendship that he had with Cole Porter and treating the way that I treated the music as a friend and to be his friend, he also knows the importance of friendship to me. So for him to kind of coin it in that fashion was very special.
You put her next to Cole Porter, who goes all the way back in his songs, Live Today Long After He's Gone. And together they're just a marriage made in heaven, an album made in heaven.
Long projects, hard projects, for me, it's not a problem as long as you have a singer like Dion singing. At the end of the day, you get your reward. You hear her sing, and that's it.
Your musical education is not complete without thoroughly immersing oneself in understanding the genius of Cole Porter as interpreted by the queen of pop music today, Dionne Warwick.
I think everybody that's been around me and going into all those record stores and buying Dionne Warwick records will be kind of happy about what I've done. I'm really pleased with the album. I think it's some of my better work, and it's given me an opportunity to expand. We have to grow, you know, and I think that is probably what my audience is about. We've grown together, and we'll continue to do that. And along the way, we collectively and individually will expose other people to those areas too. I kind of think that it's going to be quite successful.